Hello and welcome to the Coaches Show on 90.1 KBPK and SportsNetUSA.net. I'm Noah Alvarez and I'll be joined alongside Ryan Osborne and Mark Pavlovich. As for this week, we'll be covering the men's and women's water polo team here at Fullerton College with the women's, who are playing just right behind me. They're the #1 team in the nation. We'll be talking with head coach Gabriel Martinez and some of the players here on Fullerton College, as well as the head coach of the men's team, Rhett Price, on this week's show. Hi, I'm here with the women's water polo head coach Gabriel Martinez here at Fullerton College. And Coach, I wanted to ask you about the performance against Golden West just now. What are some of your thoughts on your team's performance?
I thought our defense played pretty well. I think that we feed off our defense. When our defense does a really good job, our offense tends to do really, really well. And I thought that we did a good job of adjusting to what they were doing and playing water polo.
So I noticed there's a doubleheader scheduled with the Philippine national team going on as well. During conference play, when you schedule a game like that, what are some of the things you're looking to improve upon on your team?
A lot of this stuff here, it doesn't affect our conference play, it doesn't affect our seeding, doesn't affect our seeding within the state. So it's good to get extra playing time for the girls that are going to be coming rotating in off the bench further in the season. So it's good for them to get playing time.
Now 16-1 on the year. What has impressed you the most in this year's squad?
I thought our composure, I think our understanding of the game and team chemistry, and I think our defense above all has gotten a lot better.
You've coached a lot of good teams in the past, including last year's team that came up just short in the state finals. And you have a lot of returners in this year's team too as well. Can you talk about the chemistry and the importance of having so many returners from last year's squad on this year's team and what that does for your squad?
It helps us a lot. I think that's why we're starting off so well, because we have so many girls returning from last year that are doing a really good job of showing the freshmen what's expected, the work ethic, and the style of play that we play.
So some of those sophomores include Alexandra Lopez, Brianna Santis, just to name a few. How have they grown from their freshman to their sophomore year?
Their awareness of the game, their defense, their communication. A lot of times I can sit back and just watch them play, and they can do other communication and directing within the game.
Water polo is a very physical sport. What do you do during the weeks as far as to condition these girls to withstand and endure a whole season?
I think a lot of it is knowing when to take time off, when to switch up our defenses or switch up our workouts and conditioning so they can stay healthy throughout the season.
What are some things that your team needs to focus on and fix as far as going forward in the rest of the season?
I think we got to do a better job on our power play, whether it's our 5-on-6 or whether it's 6-on-5. Once we start doing a better job on that scenarios, we're going to be tough to beat.
All right, thank you very much, and best of luck the rest of the season.
You.
Hi, I'm here with women's water polo player Brianna Santis. Brianna, the first question I wanted to ask you, 15-1 on the year before today's games. What has been the most impressive thing about the team this season?
The most impressive thing about the team this season is that we're really coming together and getting better every day at practice. We work hard, and there's days where we're just so tired, but we're always giving each other wake-up calls and wake-up checks, and we're we got to get on it. You want to be the #1 team, you have to suffer.
All right, so talk about Gabriel Martinez, your head coach, for a little bit. What are some things that he does during the week of practices and during the games and stuff like that to help maximize your team?
The things that he does is that he conditions us a lot, and he always gives us pulls us out of the water and talks to us, and he always just gives us really inspirational not quotes, but he tells us things that really wake us up. He always tells us that in order to win, you have to suffer and you have to put in the work. So I think that really helps. Mm-hmm.
So this year's team returns a lot of players from last year's squad. How does that impact the chemistry in this year's team?
It impacts the chemistry greatly. We're all know each other. We all know how we play. I know how my teammates want the ball. I know what they're gonna do the next step. They anticipate. We all know each other very well, and I think we have really good chemistry. Mm-hmm.
Speak on the chemistry of the players that are returning, including the likes of Alexandra Lopez, Tatiana Cava, and some of the other notable players on your team that returned from last year.
I think that the players on my team are really good. I think all of us together are without Alex or without Tatiana, she's always our backup, and she always gets everything for us, thankfully, and thankfully we all work together very well.
So also you guys had some contributing freshmen, including Kelly Doherty. Speak on what's impressed you the most this season as you watched her play.
I think Kelly really impresses me every day, because she always pushes herself. Sometimes mentally she'll come down a little, and then like we just like push her to it, and she like does amazing. Like I think Kelly's such a great shooter, and I think she does really great in the pool, like, and overall, like in the swim sets, like she's like one of the fastest one, like is the fastest one, and like in the game it shows when she steals the ball and like goes and scores. So it's really like I like her a lot.
When looking at your win-loss record this year, 15-1, that one loss coming to Riverside City College in conference play, but you guys did beat them in the Cuesta College tournament. What's the toughest thing about that opponent, Riverside City College?
I think the toughest thing was that honestly it's all mental. Like going into the game, you just gotta think like, okay, I'm gonna do my best. And also like they're really fast. Like that team's really fast. But once we shut down their transition, which is like getting like when they're trying to counter us and get ahead of us in the pool, like we shut it down and like we can control them. Like they have nothing on us. Like our defense is really good.
As a team, what are some areas for improvement that you'd like to see going forward, especially with conference play rounding up soon?
I think we can get around like areas around everything, like defense is always first. Like our defense can always improve. Like everything we have to do, it has to be perfect. So when the conference games and like the hard games do come, we are prepared 100%. Even our backups, like even like one of us gets majored, we're not in, our backups are in and they know what to do. Like I think as a team we just need to like keep practicing and keep getting better at what we're doing and like strive for perfection.
And then individually, what are some areas of your game that you'd like to see improve in the latter half of the season?
I think individually, I think I can get better outside shots, and like I'm trying to work on that during practice. Like when we're just shooting on our goalie, I'm trying to see like what I can work on and see how I can change my shot. And then I can also think that I can get faster because in a game it's gonna get tiring. We're gonna go over overtime maybe sometimes, and I need to have that energy. I need to have the endurance behind it and the quickness.
All right, thank you very much. Best of luck with the rest of your season. Hi, I'm here with Fullerton College men's water polo coach Rhett Price. And Coach Price, I wanted to ask you about the Golden West game just that happened earlier.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about your team's performance today?
Well, I thought my team did well. I mean, unfortunately this week, our top scorer blew out his knee. Our second highest scorer broke his ankle. And 4 of our other guys missed workout all week because of an eye contusion, an elbow, a hand. So we basically went in there with our second squad for most of the game. We weren't able to play the starters that long. So I thought they did pretty well.
So when looking at the season as a whole, what are some of the drills and conditioning you have your players do as far as to withstand those injuries throughout the long season?
Well, obviously, swimming conditioning is a huge part of it. Weight training in order to make the muscles a little bit stronger. But unfortunately, an injury like your knee, having a solar plexus popping out, there's not a lot we can do that if that's a history of something you have. As far as the ankle, that's a person skateboarding when he's not supposed to. And as far as the eye contusion, that happened during workout and everything. And the foot happened again during workout, him bumping into the wall with his thing. So, I mean, these are kind of things you can't anticipate, but you don't anticipate them happening when you're going to be playing the second team in the state. So it was just unfortunate this week we had that. But I thought for what we had in there and for the time we could have those other guys in there, I thought they did a great job.
When looking at the 2019 season as a whole, who are some players that really have stood out to you in your eyes?
Well, we have a good group of sophomores who came back. Nico Vacker has been doing great. Niam Shady. Those are our 2 team captains. They've both been doing excellent for us. Also, George has been coming in off the bench and doing a good job for us. And we've had Nolan Bryan, who's been kind of sick lately, but he's another kid out of Troy who's been doing a great job for us. We have 2 sophomore goalies. They're both doing a good job. I mean, they have their moments where they're not hitting those easy shots, but they get some incredible blocks on some of the more difficult shots. So overall, we're pretty happy with the process of that. Freshmen, we have a great freshman group. And I look forward to next year because if all these freshmen stay with us and everything like that, it'll be a great building year for us for next year. But we don't consider this a building year. We consider this a pretty good year because we do have a good crop of freshmen as well as a good returning group of sophomores.
How important is it to develop that team chemistry with not only with the sophomores but the freshmen on your roster? That way you do retain them for their second year.
Well, it's always important. Like one of the players I didn't mention, Aiden, actually played for several years ago and then was out for several years and then came back. And he's one of our returning sophomores who is our sprinter and also one of our major counter defensive guys and everything like that. And he did a great job today too. But as far as keeping them, we try to make sure they're getting good grades. We try to make sure they're doing academically, moving towards what they're supposed to do. And at the same time, we're trying to give them an environment here where they want to play, where they have a team camaraderie, where they want to play with the other players. And that's probably one of the strongest ways in which we keep players, is by having them have fun and enjoy the other guys on the team.
And as you're in Orange Empire Conference play currently, what are some things you want to see your team improve upon in the second half of the season?
Obviously, throwaway passes we want to stop. We throw way too many passes away. Unforced errors is killing us this season. Also, our shots, we're missing the cage a lot of the times rather than putting the shot within the cage and making the goalie have to block it. So shot improvement, passing improvement, in other words, fundamentals is always a key. And I think if we can improve upon our fundamentals, then we'll have a strong second half of this season.
All right, thank you very much for your time and best of luck this season.
Okay, thank you very much.
Now we'll be tossing it over to Victor Vasquez. We'll be talking about the food bank here on campus at Fullerton College.
Hi, this is Victor Vasquez from the Coaches Show. Now I know we usually talk about football, but today we're going to talk about something different. It's actually about nutrition for student athletes and students here at Fullerton College.
Community college student athletes have various priorities during their time in college. But one aspect that gets overlooked by many athletes is nutrition. Many community college athletes go to bed starving or wake up starving, and it could be due to their nutritional habits growing up. Certain student athletes do not know how much caloric intake they need, as well as what are the best food groups to eat according to their body type. While the typical college student might require 1,500 to 3,000 calories each day to meet their energy needs, some athletes have energy requirements that exceed 4,000 calories to 5,000 calories each day. Other reasons student athletes bypass nutrition could be due to their current budget situation, social life, requirements for the sport they are playing, schedule they set up during a school semester, as well as the athlete's upbringing, can lead to the reason nutrition does not play a big part in their lives. Student athletes not having nutrition as a main focus can lead to poor performance in athletics as well as in school, longer recovery times from injury, having a weak immune system, and weight changes. Nutrition affects not only student athletes in community college, but all students. Fullerton College has many different resources available to its students, and one of those resources is the Fullerton College Food Bank. The food bank encourages students that struggle with food insecurities to explore options on ways to promote nutrition and healthy eating. The food bank, also known as the Chris Lamb and Tony DuBois Walker Memorial Food Bank, was established by faculty, managers, staff, students, retirees, and volunteers to address the growing number of Fullerton College students struggling to find nutritional food and resources to meet their needs. The mission of the food bank is the foster of healthy college community by providing nutritious food to students and their families who are in need. They hope to alleviate hunger and provide access to quality and nutritious food. Thanks to the Good Samaritan Act, the food bank can now offer fresh fruits and veggies that are picked up fresh every Tuesday. Recently at the food bank, students have been allowed and encouraged to pick what they want instead of receiving pre-packaged bags. With the amount of food that is offered at the food bank, there are a variety of foods that the staff takes into account to meet each student's needs. In the fall of 2018, the food bank had a record of 92 students come in order to obtain food to eat healthy. Food is the primary source available at the food bank, but there are a few school supplies such as binders also available. Tea, coffee, and a microwave is available for use by all students if they need it. The food bank also encourages students to visit www.choosemyplate.com in order to obtain tips on how to best fill their nutritional needs for themselves as well as their family. In order for students to be eligible for the food bank, they must be enrolled in at least 3 units, as well as show a student ID or a state-issued ID with a recent class schedule/bill. During the fall 2019 semester, the food bank is open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. and then reopens at 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and is located in room 1955 south of the pool on campus. For more information, please send an email to the food bank at fcfoodbank@fullcall.edu.
That was more information about nutrition. Now I'm going to send it over to Noah Alvarez and Ryan Osborne with the Coaches Show.
Now we're going to make our way back to the gridiron as the football team here at Fullerton College now falls to 2-3 on the 2019 season and enter the bye week after a heartbreaking 48-47 loss to the Pirates at Ventura College. We'll be recapping that game as the Hornets got off to another slow start, trailing 10-0 at the end of the first quarter. They actually didn't score their first points of the evening until quarterback Quinn Commons connected with newcomer wide receiver Hunter Ryson on a 29-yard touchdown pass with 5 minutes left to go in the second quarter. The Pirates responded rather quickly as Nevin Yoon connected with wide receiver Terrell Vaughn on a 21-yard touchdown pass, pushing the Pirate lead back to 10 points. However, immediately after, Fullerton wide receiver Kashawn Griffin took a 98-yard kickoff return to the house. Thanks to some great blocking and some nice speed, the Hornets decided to go for 2 points, but failed on the conversion, leaving the score at 17-13. The Pirates drove down again, and Yoon connected with receiver Chris Reeves on a 34-yard pass, pushing the score to 24-13. In desperate need of a big play before halftime, they got one as Hunter Ryson scored another touchdown, the second touchdown on the evening. This time a 66-yard pass from quarterback Christian Frocage. The Pirates used the rest of the time in the first half to drive down the field and set up a 30-yard field goal, giving them a 27-20 lead over the Hornets at the half. It was all Pirates in the third quarter as Nevin Yoon led an 11-play, 94-yard drive to kick off the third quarter and kept it himself on a 1-yard touchdown, pushing the lead to 14. 34-20 was the score. Running back Chuck Wick of the Pirates scored an 11-yard rushing touchdown just before the end of the third quarter, pushing the Pirate lead to 21, and things started looking grim for the Hornets. But then Quinn Commons led a 4-play, 61-yard drive and capped it off with a 23-yard touchdown run, cutting the score to 41-27. 2 minutes later, Commons found Kalen Nosif on a 15-yard touchdown pass, cutting the lead down to 7. Then Christian Frocage led a 9-play, 50-yard drive with under 6 minutes left to go and kept it himself on a 5-yard rushing touchdown to tie things up at 41 apiece. Both teams traded defensive stops, and that led both teams into overtime. Back-to-back weeks, the Hornets had to play in overtime as the Hornets won the toss, chose to defer, and the Pirates got on the board rather quickly as Yoon found Terrell Vaughn in the back of the end zone for a 6-yard pass. Then the Hornets responded rather quickly. Commons found wide receiver Kashawn Griffin for a 9-yard touchdown pass, but it was a high snap on the PAT attempt by Alec Fonseca that wound up being the difference maker. As the PAT was wide left, the Pirates come out victorious over Fullerton College by a final score of 48-47.
Thank you very much, Noah. As we come to the part of the show where we take a look back at what happened this last Saturday in terms of ranked teams and scores and how they did over the weekend, we start up at San Mateo. San Mateo was hosting one of the best teams in all of the CCCAA on Saturday in Modesto. Now, Modesto was undefeated coming into this one. They had twice beat the number one team in the nation and in the state of California, and they would go up against San Mateo, who was fighting for that number one spot as well. San Mateo, also undefeated at 4-0. They had beaten a number one team in Butte, and they had a couple of top 10 victories as well. So both of these two teams were 4-0 entering this matchup, and San Mateo and Modesto got started pretty quickly. Opening kickoff. San Mateo takes it 84 yards to the house. Terrell Carter takes the opening kickoff, walks down the right sideline, and makes it 7-0 San Mateo early on. Modesto would get the reply in the form of an Isaac Sharp 1-yard touchdown run, but they wouldn't be able to convert on the extra point, and it would be a 1-point lead going into the second quarter for San Mateo. However, that's where San Mateo's scoring onslaught started. They scored 14 points in the second quarter. It started off with Jermaine Jackson, who received a 53-yard touchdown pass from Luke Bottery to make it 14-6, and then Darrell Page had a 3-yard touchdown run just before the half ended with 1:02 left in the second quarter to make it 21-6 going into halftime. Modesto was in a hole. They would come out of halftime with the opportunity to go on offense as they immediately scored. 5 minutes, 18 seconds into the second half, Isaac Sharp converts on a 3-yard touchdown run. The 2-point conversion failed to make it 21-12. The rest of the scoring, however, would go to San Mateo in the third quarter. They scored 2 touchdowns, one on a Jermaine Jackson 89-yard kickoff return. That's right. Isaac Sharp scores the touchdown, and all of a sudden, Jermaine Jackson gets the kickoff return and runs it all the way back into the house from 89 yards out. 2 different kickoff returns for San Mateo in this game. That made it 28-12. Then about a minute later, San Mateo, Trey Smith would get a 28-yard interception return for a touchdown, and that would finish off the scoring for the afternoon as nobody got on the board in the fourth quarter. The final, 35-12. San Mateo really dominated Modesto when it came to the overall scoring. When you look at the statistics between these two sides, Modesto controlled the ball for most of this game. They had 34 minutes time of possession compared to 25 for San Mateo. However, when San Mateo scored, it was in lightning strikes. All of their scoring drives happened within 3 minutes or less, and not to mention the fact that they had 2 different touchdowns on returns and 1 interception for a touchdown. So most of their scoring happened pretty quickly, and most of it when they didn't have possession of the football. 21 first downs for Modesto, 13 for San Mateo. Third down efficiency for both of these two teams, kind of middle of the road, 53% on 8 of 15 for Modesto and 50% for 7 of 14 for San Mateo. Total offense, 348 for Modesto. They had 240 in the air and 108 on the ground. San Mateo, 286 overall, 165 in the air, 121 on the ground. When you look at the turnover battle, that was won by San Mateo. Again, they grabbed 2 interceptions in this ballgame in addition to forcing 2 fumbles. They recovered one of them. The interception and fumble ratio from one side to the other went 3-0 San Mateo over top of Modesto. Brett Neves ended up going 19 for 32, 235 and 2 interceptions, did not record a touchdown pass. San Mateo's Luke Bottery, 10 of 19 for 165 and 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Isaac Sharp went 28 attempts, 95 yards, 15 for a long and 2 touchdowns. Didn't really have the most efficient ground game all afternoon for Modesto, but 95 yards still not too bad. Jermaine Jackson, 7 attempts for 60 yards, averaging 8.6 per carry, and no touchdowns. But Darryl Page had one as he had 11 attempts for 34 yards, and that score. Terrell Carter, 4 receptions, 77 yards for San Mateo. He did not record a touchdown, but Jermaine Jackson did, as he had that 1 return and the reception for a touchdown as well. 4 receptions, 72 yards, and 1 TD. When you look at the returns, again, Terrell Carter, Jermaine Jackson, both those 2 guys running one back to the house, and San Mateo with the victory, a huge one that will affect their rankings, of which we will get to in just a moment. Now we drop it down over to Southern California, where Mount Sac was taking on Saddleback. Mount Sac needed a victory in this game because they had just lost to Chaffey for the second time in as many seasons, and if you remember, Chaffey is now a member of the American Conference, so that's a huge loss for Mount Sac, and it bounced them out of the top 10 for the first time all season long. For Saddleback, it was still a good opportunity to get a win over a ranked opponent, and Saddleback would start off the scoring in the first quarter after about 8 minutes or so of game time. Matthew Freem got a 28-yard field goal to make it 3-0, and then Mount Sac on the ensuing drive, an explosive 54-yard run from Rashad White to make it 7-3, capping off a 3-play, 74-yard drive in 1 minute and 5 seconds. Towards the end of the first quarter, Jonathan Jefferson would get a 1-yard touchdown run to cap off a 10-play, 81-yard drive in 4 minutes and 14 seconds. 10-7, Saddleback had the lead going into the second. Mount San Antonio, Dylan Flanagan, 3-yard touchdown run to make it 14-10. Both of these two teams started trading scores back and forth. In fact, neither of these two squads got a consecutive score. They weren't able to string together consecutive scores, and it would end up being the special teams that made a difference. Matthew Freem with that 28-yard field goal, that would pay dividends in just a little bit. We go back to the third quarter, just coming out of halftime, or actually going towards the end of the third quarter, starting the second half. Mount Sac got a field goal, 24 yards out. 17-13 was the score. However, immediately following, Saddleback got the football, and Cole Harity with a 90-yard touchdown pass from Chance Nolan just 26 seconds later to make it 20-17. So just when Mount Sac thought that they had themselves an opportunity to expand on their lead, Saddleback going into the fourth quarter had a huge play. Now here's where things got interesting in the final minute of the game. Mount San Antonio had a 4-play 93-yard drive in 57 seconds of game time to take a 24-20 lead, as Dylan Flanagan had a 75-yard touchdown pass. However, Saddleback got the victory, snatched it from Mount Sac with 17 seconds to go as Chance Nolan sent a pass to Isaiah Garcia Castaneda to end up winning it. 30-yard passing play. They ended up with a 4-play, 75-yard drive in just 33 seconds. And with 17 seconds left to go, Saddleback would get the capping score to make it 27-24. The Gauchos take it over top of the Mounties. So Saddleback is going to stay looking pretty good in the top 5. 20 first downs for Saddleback compared to 16 for Mount Sac. 465 yards of offense as Chance Nolan just continues to impress here in Southern California. 378 in the air, 148 on the ground, as opposed to Mount Sac, who had 351 total, 139 in the air, and 212 on the ground. Their rushing attack was really good over the weekend. Chance Nolan, 22 of 32, just over 33%. 67%, 317 in terms of yardage, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and that game-winning strike with 17 seconds to go. Dylan Flanagan finished at 50%, 9 of 18, 139, and he had a touchdown as well. Chance Nolan was the leading rusher for Saddleback, 23 attempts for 95 yards, and Rashad White, 29 attempts for 214. If Chance Nolan wasn't the odds-on favorite for the Southern California Player of the Year, it'd be Rashad White out of Mount Sac, who has looked terrific to start off this year. 29 attempts, 214, and 1 touchdown. So, Saddleback takes home the victory, 27-24, and that ends up being the final ranked matchup between two powerhouses in the state of California, at least the Southern California section or so. When you look at the rankings, College of San Mateo, with their commanding victory over Modesto, brings their record to 5-0. They are now ranked number 1 in the state of California. Previously, they were ranked number 2. Riverside didn't really impress against San Diego Mesa. They did win it by 3 scores, but they didn't impress anybody. And College of San Mateo got 6 first-place votes compared to Riverside City College, who had 5. So Riverside City College drops to number 2. Saddleback ends up moving up 1 spot in front of Ventura, as they are sitting at number 3, one of only 3 teams in the entire state of California, at least in the top 3, who are undefeated. Shasta is also another undefeated team, in addition to Chaffee and Citrus as well, joined by Foothill and Mount San Jacinto. Those are the only remaining 5-0 teams in the entire state. Number 4 in the rankings, Ventura College, who is 4-1 after that last-second victory over top of the Fullerton College Hornets, and City College of San Francisco wraps up the top 5. If you are looking for the Fullerton College Hornets in this ranking right here, well, you're going to have to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Fullerton is now ranked number 23. That is their lowest ranking in the last 3.5 seasons, since the 9th week of 2015. So Fullerton College, they are now 2-3 this season. They have their first 2-game losing streak since 2015. They're going to have to right the ship pretty quickly. As you heard Noah talk about earlier, they had a huge chance to win this game, or at least tie it against Ventura, but that extra point sails wide, and Ventura moves up to number 4 in the entire state, while Fullerton drops an entire 5 spots in the rankings. They are now tied with an American Conference team in Mount San Jacinto College. You look at the regional polls. In Southern California, Riverside City College sitting at number 1, Saddleback at number 2, and College of the Canyons at number 3. Those are pretty important because you look at those rankings, and normally what that's going to determine is the wild card in the state of California. It's going to be your 3 conference champions normally, and then you have a wild card who gets in as well. Riverside City College is setting up to be their conference champion, same as Saddleback, and College of the Canyons would slide in as that wild card at the time being, as Ventura is also leading their conference as well. Long Beach City College has moved up pretty heavily as they nearly beat Riverside, and then they have a win over the weekend as well over top of Cerritos. Southwestern is now sitting at number 6. They were previously ranked number 7. San Diego Mesa, who is tied in the top 3, ends up losing to Riverside City College by 3 scores, which pops them all the way down to number 7, or at least tied for number 7, with the team in Mount San Antonio who has 2 losses. We look at the Northern Division rankings. College of San Mateo rightfully sitting at number 1, joined by Modesto College at number 2. City College of San Francisco setting up at number 3 with American River, Butte, and Fresno City, each of which having 2, 2, and 1 loss respectively. Shasta, Sierra, and Laney joined by Chabot. All of those end up finishing off the bottom 4 in the top 10 of the Northern California divisional rankings. You look at Southern California, or back to Southern California, the American Division, Chaffey leading everybody as they are 5-0, and again, they are ranked in the top 17 in the entire state of California. They have that huge victory over top of Mount Sac before, and they have just looked really terrific at the beginning of this season, and they haven't really lost a step since moving down to the American Conference. They are leading the American Division altogether in the Southern California rankings. They're joined by Citrus, who has an undefeated record at 5-0, and San Bernardino Valley, who is one of the better offensive teams in the entire state as of right now. Northern California American Division is led by Foothill, who is sitting at 5-0, and Monterey Peninsula, who is at 4-0. Reedley is 4-1, and Cabrillo also slides in at 4-1 as well. So that's going to do it for the recap here on the Coaches Show. Let's get it back over to Noah Alvarez.
That's going to do it for this week's Coaches Show. Don't forget, Hornet Volleyball on October 16th as they take on the Rustlers of Golden West College. You can listen to that game on 90.1 KBPK. For Ryan Osborne and Mark Pavlovich, I'm Noah Alvarez. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaches Show here on 90.1 KBPK and SportsNetUSA.net.